Cool. So yeah, I'm just going to introduce, for those that don't know, the groups that are involved in the accessibility space, do a quick overview of some of the work that we've been doing in the past 12 months. For those that don't know, there are four key groups within the accessibility space. There's the Accessibility Guidelines Working Group, and they're principally responsible for the main standard, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and working on resources that support that, explain that, and develop the new standard WCAG 3. We have the ARIA working group, who are responsible for extensions on HTML to improve accessibility and the APIs associated with that. The Accessible Platforms Architectures working group, their primary responsibility is around about the accessibility horizontal review, although they also take a forward-looking view on a lot of weird and wonderful technologies that might be coming through and what we need to do around about those. And finally, we have the Web Accessibility Initiative, the WAY Interest Group. This is an extended community group, really, where we've got, or a group of community, where we have a mailing list and a lot of support across the community for understanding our resources and for reviewing our resources. So some of the highlighted publications from this year, we've published an update to the WCAG 3 draft twice, and that is slowly developing in maturity. We've got the ACT rules, the Accessibility Conformance Testing rules format. That's a new 1.1 version is to CR. Hopefully we're getting that out later in the year. We've had refinements and updates to WCAG to ICT. So this is a set of guidelines that explain how WCAG might apply in non-web technologies and spaces. We've been doing a lot of architectural work in the background, looking at how we kind of create the standards and maintain the standards. One of the outputs we've managed to get out of that is maintained versions of WCAG 2 in JSON format. And we've been hearing some input from people where they're already starting to use that data in weird and wacky ways, which we always appreciate. Another small publications, an update to a final publication for the Collaboration Tools Accessibility User Requirements, which helps understand what are the user needs around about these sorts of tools. And we've got a number of user requirement documents. In terms of general process, there is a backlog subgroup, or backlog task force, which is part of AG. They manage the vast number of issues raised against WCAG 2. They have managed to clear 500 WCAG 2 issues since they opened, which I think is about a year and a half, 2 years ago, which is fairly good going. To be fair, they probably raised about 100 of those themselves. So, you know, they're kind of, I don't know if they're kind of building their own stats for themselves. We've also, as I said, we've had massive improvements in the WCAG 2 and WCAG 3 build process. This is really important because it really helps support that update to WCAG 2 and how we manage and maintain and update that. It's also allowed us to kind of get some more consistency across our various different resources and platforms that we've got that provide supporting material. One of those being the WCAG QuickRef, which we've kind of made some subtle improvements to in how we manage it. We've also had improvements to test accessibility mappings under the web platform tests infrastructure, which I think is a really important one to try and integrate accessibility more directly into the platform tests and get consistency across development there. And the APA working group has been involved in extensive accessibility horizontal reviews and continue to do so. Okay, some future work, just to talk briefly about that. We have got a WCAG 3 draft scheduled for publication late 2025, early 2026, depending on how long it takes us to build the PR. We're also looking, AG working group is set for recharter, and we've got an extension to mid-2026, and we're hoping to get that out sometime soon. That will be planning towards late 2028 WCAG 3 candidate recommendation for wide review. We're continuing to clear the WCAG 2 issues. The backlog group is working very hard on those, which is great. Developing a number of other specifications, just a couple to mention, accessibility of machine learning and generative AI, and specification for spoken presentation in HTML. We're always keen for people to contribute in various different ways. We do have a page which we maintain, which is helpfully titled What We're Working On, and we try to ensure that that's as up to date as possible. Within WCAG 3 editor draft, we've got a lot of requirements and guidelines which we know are more than likely absolutely necessary, but we don't necessarily have solid research on those. So there are a number of notes within there where there's a question or an editor's note saying needs additional research. So if anybody feels like going through those and filling in some of those gaps, we'd really be happy for that. And finally, we are also keen for people to be involved as sponsors to the work, and there is W3C Principles Champion, which is an opportunity for you to demonstrate visible support for the accessibility work. Thank you.